Hello everybody, welcome back. I'm the Strategy Professor, and we're going to look at the patch notes today for 11.17. So as always, if you enjoy the content, please be sure to like and subscribe. It really helps out a ton on the channel. Come by, check out the stream on Twitch now. No longer on YouTube, only on Twitch for the stream. Usually starting around 11:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and going till about 2:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to keep releasing content on YouTube, but we've just moved the stream over to Twitch just to try it out for a while. I think it might be a better fit for the live streaming content right now. But be sure to check that out. And then I'm also going to be releasing a support tier list, probably an ADC tier list, and a few other roles as well on this patch. So stay tuned for that. You can follow me on Twitter as well, the Strategy Professor at the Strat Prof, if you want an extra layer of announcements, just in case you don't get those announcements from YouTube, which, you know, I've been hearing that's happening more and more. Okay, so let's look this over real quick. Okay, so Akshan, getting a little bit of extra damage on his E, which is okay. He can no longer kill, basically resurrect people when he's dead. So if they're ignited or they have a red buff ticking on them or whatever, then, you know, that's going to stop that. So I don't think this is going to matter that much. This probably matters more, some of these different bug fixes. I'm not really sure how often these come up or how much it matters. But overall, I think he's pretty good in solo lanes right now if you're really good on him. So, you know, this will probably help him out a little bit. I don't think it's probably going to make a huge difference, though. Either way. Okay, Amumu. I really don't like these changes to Amumu. I mean, to me, it seems like a pretty huge nerf. Okay, so, I mean, like, Amumu just does not really exist as a viable jungler above gold, I don't think. And even in, like, silver, gold, and bronze, I still feel like he's got a lot of problems. He's got a lot of really hard matchups early on, and then it's just a really long cooldown on his ultimate. There's so much mobility, and it's so telegraphed when he's going in. I mean, I guess you can, like, flash ult, but when he hits that bandage on someone, it just gives everyone around him time to scatter, dash, flash, whatever, and get away. So there's already a lot of counterplay to what he's trying to do. So I think he needs buffs rather than nerfs. Okay, health growth is down, armor is down, bandage toss. You can get up to 2 charges now, so you can save 2 charges of this, but you can't use them instantaneously together to stick to people more. It's got a 3-second cooldown between each one, and now the effective cooldown on it is 16. So it's going to take you 32 seconds, effectively, to store up 2 charges, unless you put more points into it. Each one that you hit does significantly less damage, especially at later levels. So it used to do 280 on the first hit. Now it's doing 190. So you have to land both of them to get this basically the same amount of, well, not the same amount of base damage, but it's just a lot less. So if you have both bandages up and you land both of them on the target, you combo it together, it is more damage for an all-in. However, you're not going to be able to do it as often, and if you only land one bandage and then they are able to dodge the second one or whatever, because remember there's 3 seconds between each one, then it's going to be weaker. So I guess that's a wash at best. I think there are some scenarios where that will be better, but there are some scenarios where you need to blow someone up too, and the fact that your second one, even if you do land it, is going to be delayed by 3 seconds could be a pretty big deal. Okay, Despair, the damage is, base damage per second is up a little bit, but then the max damage is down quite a lot. Going from 2% to 1.6 is a 25% reduction in damage. So that's just a massive nerf to the damage on his tiers. And then the stun duration just being 1.5 at all ranks is just a disgusting nerf. Like, that's like his whole thing is his ult. So now even at level 11 and, you know, level 16, when he's supposed to scale up because he's pretty much garbage early game, now he doesn't even scale into, you know, extra power. So I think this is just a crazy nerf. I mean, did they think this is a buff? We late game's never really been his problem. Yeah, it kind of is. I mean, he's better late than early, but it's like, you know what? He's viable late game, so let's just nerf his scaling. It's like, dude, just give him flat out buffs. Just rework something about him, whatever. Like, I don't know. I don't like it. Although I don't think it's gonna matter like too much in the meta because he's already not that great most of the time. Okay, Echo is getting increased damage versus monsters on his passive. This actually could be pretty significant. Echo was in the jungle a while ago. And, I mean, he's a very dangerous champion in solo queue. If you don't have that coordinated CC to lock him down, he has quite a bit of mobility. Has the potential for a huge AoE stun with a big shield. Quite a bit of burst damage if he lands everything on somebody. Lots of stickiness. I hate going against a good Echo. So, we'll see how it goes. I mean, it did wonders for Diana when they did that with her a while back. I don't know if this is going to be quite as strong as the Diana one, but I think he will definitely become more viable in the jungle. I don't necessarily think he's going to be like S-class, but I think it'll definitely bump him up a few percentage points in the jungle. Okay, Evelyn, please don't buff this champ. She's so annoying to play against. But they're lowering her cooldown by 20 seconds. That's fair. I mean, most assassins usually have about 120 seconds or less. So, that's fine. She really needs her ult, I think, a lot of times in the early game to convert those kills. So, I guess that's okay, even though I don't like playing against her. Gangplank, Trial by Fire. Okay, so lowered speed in the early game. Okay, so that's going to make him easier to gank, primarily. And then you've got Parlay, counts as a ranged basic attack, so this will affect Grasp. So he'll get less benefit out of Grasp, which is a really common keystone on him. And then you'll get less benefit if you go Divine Sunder. So kind of like the tankier plank, Tank Plank is going to be weaker. They're really trying to encourage him to go more with crit. And they say that right here, basically. They're trying to nerf Grasp of the Undying. So Powder Keg, now it scales even more, and the wording on this is poor. I was talking with this in my last night on the stream about this change. It's 125% of the 175% that a normal crit is. So it's not nerfing it from 175% on crits to 125%. It's buffing the 175% to whatever 125% is, over 200%. So that's actually a buff to the crit damage that it deals. And then you can have more barrels. So you can have up to 5 barrels, which I don't think you would use that in a lot of scenarios. But I guess in team fights, if you have 5 stored up and you just drop them all over the place and just like light the whole place up, I mean, I guess it's more likely you're going to hit some barrels and, really annihilate people in a team fight. So I guess that's cool. So this looks like a nerf to early game and then much higher potential for blowouts later on with larger crits and a larger surface area in a really important team fight. So, okay, I guess that's fine. Graves, increasing the mana cost on the Q. So this will hurt laning Graves, which has become a little bit more popular. Should probably push him out of the lane. That's a pretty significant nerf to his wave clear. But it probably won't affect Jungle Graves that much, I don't think, because you get so much extra just free mana regen in the jungle just off the jungle item that I think that's fine. So that's a pretty eloquent way to do it, to keep him viable in the jungle but get him out of solo lanes. Usually they don't like for stuff to be able to flex from jungle to solo. It just can create just too many imbalances in the drafting phase, too many problems, too many balancing problematic scenarios if you do that in pro play. Okay, Irelia, this is what I said they should do. This is what they're doing. They're nerfing her healing. I wish they'd nerf it even more. I mean, the thing is she already gets sustain items. Why does she need free sustain in her kit, like built in on a spammable spell like Q, when you can just kill all of the minions? Right, just get them low, and then just, like, spam Q on all the minions, and just heal back for your whole bar in the laning phase. I think she should not be able to heal off of minions. I mean, they've done that with everybody else. They did that with Akali Like, all of these champions that have really problematic sustain, they just made it to where you can't heal off of minions in the laning phase, because it's just, like, pretty much free healing with very little counterplay. And then on top of that, usually she gets Divine Sunder, Blade the Ruined King, she takes Conquer, usually Triumph. So she just gets, like, so much healing already in her kit. I just don't... Because she doesn't have to go out of her way to do it. Those items are good anyways, and they just happen to have healing. So I just think that she shouldn't be allowed to heal off of minions. That's my opinion. And I mean, if they want to make it to where Q heals a little bit more off of champions, off of trades, that's fine. But I think they should take it away from minions. But I guess they're at least looking at it. They notice that the sustain is a problem on her. Okay, Kane's Shadow Assassin damage is down a lot in the like mid to late game. So going from 44% extra damage to 30%. That's on each ability. Okay, so that's going to nerf his all-in potential. That's fine, I guess. I mean, that's a pretty brutal hit. I thought maybe they'd nerf his mobility or like his cooldowns or something, just so he doesn't have as much uptime, just so you can catch him and punish him more often. But they're just lowering his ability to assassinate. Okay, I guess that's fine. I don't think they needed to nerf him. I didn't think he was too over the top, but especially with his Gore Drinker build. Why don't you just nerf Gore Drinker and Divine Sunder and all of the other healing BS that's been going on all season instead of nerfing this champion? Okay, Leona, bonus armor and magic resist are down by 5 per level. Okay, I don't think this is going to be like a massive deal, but it will make her a little bit less tanky in the early game. I mean, like, maybe for your level 2 all-ins where you're just getting beaten down by all the minions, like, that extra, 5 armor is going to make a difference, but she probably does need to be dialed back a little bit. She's super good in pro, even though in solo queue, she's not that far out of line right now. I think she's like 51 or 52% or something, so that's fine. Just tap her a little bit. Lysandra, base attack damage up. Thank God. I mean, I guess that does help a little bit. It's kind of like a meme with the 2 attack damage, even on mages now. But I guess that will help last hit a little bit. The mana cost going down by 5 is pretty significant, though. That's going to give her a better wave clear, so I guess that's fine. I don't think that's going to make her fantastic in the meta again. Lucian. Okay, so this is one of the more interesting changes. So they're lowering his attack damage by 2. Okay. I mean, it does kind of matter on Lucian because all of his abilities have pretty good, like, attack damage scaling, so it does matter a little bit. But his passive Light Slinger. So this says ally buffs empower Lucian's next 2 basic attacks to do extra damage. However, when we go over to the wiki that I looked at, it says whenever Lucian is healed or shielded or buffed. That's not just a buff, it's a heal. Why is this important? Dang it, I blanked out on the name for it. Font of Life, there we go. Font of Life sounds like it affects it. Font of Life affects Ardent Censer, it affects Staff of Flowing Water, and it might affect this too. So if you don't know what that is, that's one of the... I can just pull it up real quick. Basically, whenever you CC somebody, and I think, yeah, on slows or CC, they get a debuff over their head, and then when anyone auto-attacks that champion, then they get healed for a certain amount. And the amount that they get healed is usually pretty low. Like, it doesn't matter that much. If you're on a big tank, like, it can add up. You know, if you end up with, like, 2,500 health or something, that's 25 extra health that they heal over 1.75 seconds. So it's a hot, and it can be overwritten by further auto attacks. So it's just a really weirdly designed rune. But the thing that's important about this is it counts as a heal from you. So anything that checks to see if you got healed will trigger off of this. So it finally says Ardent Censer and Staff of Flowing Water. It hasn't said that for years. I've been one of the only people that I've ever heard talk about that. But this could affect Lucian. So that means that even if it is someone like a Leona or an Alistar or whatever, if you just take Font instead of Demolish, then you're going to be able to give him this extra Light Singer buff pretty much permanently. So obviously it's going to be nice if you pair him with a Lucian or a Janna or whatever, but usually, or a Lucian, a Lulu or a Janna or whatever, But historically, he's not that great with those champs because he really needs to engage and get in there and do a lot of damage early. He wants to all in early, so he's kind of like a Draven-esque, type of champion that's, really heavily invested in the early game. So you can still play those champs and still get those bonuses on him with Font of Life. That's how it's worded on the wiki. We'll see how that plays out. But that could actually be quite strong. And obviously, that's still going to pair really well with Nami, who we'll talk about in a second, who's also getting a buff. Classically, a pretty good champion with Lucian because, you're going to get the extra damage off of Nami's E, which triggers on each one of those double shots. Now you're going to get this Vigilance, which can trigger off of those double shots. You're going to get his bonus damage that he does just from the fact that it is a double shot. And then you can trigger Mandate off of Nami, too, and her slow, which is going to add additional proc damage, and then you can also take Press the Attack, which is going to trigger and do extra damage, and all of these other things that are doing extra damage are going to do 12% more damage. So there's like 50 million different procs you can get with Nami, with Mandate, if you take Press the Attack and Font of Life, on Nami. There's a lot of stuff that can, work with Lucian to do a surprising amount of damage right now. So that's just something to look out for. I think this is going to be a pretty big buff. I don't know. I feel like he's only got like a 47% win rate right now, or 48 or something. And I feel like he's not that bad, but maybe he is. I don't know. So Piercing Light, that's the same. Ardent Blaze. Now this is another one that's really nice. If he or an allied champion damages a marked target, Nami's E, I believe, counts as damage from Nami. So it adds extra auto attack damage, but I think it might count as damage from Nami. And even if it doesn't, there are a lot of ways with Nami that you can get damage, right? You can just have your wave bounce around and do damage to multiple targets. You can have your tidal wave hit people. You can have bubble, auto attacks. There's a lot of ways to keep this going. Or again, if you engage with something like a Leona or a Nautilus or a Braum who can just lock them up and keep attacking them, Lucian's going to keep getting this. And another thing that's great about this is this can help Lucian kite a ton. Because now he doesn't have to turn around and auto attack as much. He can just run and get more distance if he needs to. So I think this is pretty nice. This is a pretty nice buff that allies can trigger it too. And then his ultimate. Now, this one's a little more controversial. I think the baseline amount that he fires is lower, especially at later levels. However, I think it's the same at level 6, but then level 11 and then 16, it's lower unless you have crit. If you build crit on him, then it has the potential to be higher. However, crit is not usually the build I don't think that a lot of people go with on him. But maybe now you can go like either probably Shield Bow, and then I don't know what you would get second. Maybe Phantom Dancer, probably Shield Bow, Phantom Dancer, Infinity Edge if you want to go with that. I suppose you could also do like Essence Reaver. There was a while ago where that item used to be really good on him, but it has been nerfed some, so I'm not 100% what you would want to go on him now. But maybe like Shield Bow, Essence Reaver, Infinity Edge if you want to go for the crit build, or maybe you could go for the armor penetrating item like Shield Bow into Lord Doms into Infinity Edge or something. I'm not sure if that's 100% worth it. It very well might be because his abilities do a lot of damage. So like his R cannot crit, but it does benefit from armor penetration. And the same thing with his Q, can't crit, does benefit from armor penetration. So maybe the play then is to go like Shield Bow into Doms. Kraken, you can also trigger. I think each one of your shots, like your double shot, helps stack up Kraken, I believe. I believe it triggers on attack stuff. If it doesn't, it's probably bad. But Shield Bow is just so OP right now. Just having that healing and that protection from getting just one-shotted by assassins is just so nice. So I'm thinking probably maybe Shield Bow, Doms, Infinity Edge. Because he's in a weird spot where he has abilities, but he also benefits from crit. So I don't know. We'll see. But I think this is definitely good news for him. especially with that Nami matchup because she's getting buffed too, and she's historically really good with him. Speaking of which, here's Nami. So she's getting a little bit of extra health. 15 is nice. Probably not a huge deal outside of like level 1 or level 2 all ends. Ebb and flow, the mana is significantly lower later on, so that's pretty nice. I mean, even in the laning phase, I guess you're saving 10 mana at level 5. Nami has been a little bit outside of the meta for a while. There are some good pairings with her, but ever since Mandate got nerfed earlier on in the season, she just doesn't work as well as Irelia's as some of the other champs out there. There's a chance that she is, a little bit undervalued. It's just, the thing about Nami is that she has really long cooldowns on her abilities. She only has one heal, so she doesn't work that well with healing and shielding. Her bubble has to land in a specific place. It's not a line skill shot, so if someone has any kind of dash, like, it's pretty easy to dodge it or to flash it if you're going for an all-in. And she's very, very vulnerable, or just sidestep it. And she's very vulnerable to all ends early on too, because it's really hard to peel. You have to hit that bubble. So she's okay. I just feel like she gets overshadowed by things like Lulu predominantly right now, and maybe some other champs. But perhaps with this buff, maybe especially with Lucian, she could be good because Lucian triggers your E really quickly because of those double shots, and he works really well with Mandate as well. So I think there definitely could be some synergy where maybe you see her return with Lucian, but we'll see. Okay, Senna, critical strike damage is going up to 160%. Okay, that's nice. The soul drop rate for minions is 10% if she kills them. Okay. Yeah, I mean, she could use a little bit of help here. I like that they're not giving the drop rate, that they're not increasing it for, like, fasting Senna. I think that that's really hard to balance, especially in a competitive environment. It's just the game's just not really well designed for that, and it's somewhat non-interactive, and it's just weird. It's one of those things where people see it in pro, and then they try to emulate it in solo queue with, like, a random support, and it just doesn't work out, because then both people end up getting warding items, or the ADC's, like, not warding properly, or just doesn't have the cover to ward properly, right? Like, Senna going out and trying to ward is very different from, like, Rakan or Alistar or Braum. She's going to be a lot more vulnerable if she's in charge of warding. And if you're warding, that means you're not in a lane CSing, which is what you should be doing as an ADC. So just flipping it around and giving the wards to the ADC and, like, making it more difficult for the support to get the wards so you can try to do fasting Senna, along with a myriad of other problems. Just make that strategy just, like, really just bad. It's just bad under, like, Challenger or Masters. It's just bad. So I like that they've kind of... It's a cool idea creatively, but I like that they've pushed fasting Senna to the side a little bit, and they want to focus more on, like, making AD Senna more viable. So I think that's probably a good move. Okay. Teemo's on-hit damage is a little bit stronger. It's like 3 damage stronger. And this isn't even the dot. It's just the on-hit. I don't like it. I don't like encouraging Teemo to go for attack speed builds. I mean, Nashor's is okay, but I think where Teemo's real strength lies is in the strength of the mushrooms. So getting something like Leandri's Demonic Void Staff and just turning him basically into a delayed poke mage / like zone of control mage where you're controlling, choke points around Baron or Dragon or whatever with those mushrooms, and really taxing their sweepers, taxing their control wards. I think that's just the best way to really use Teemo. Outside of, like, Nashor's Tooth. Nashor's is just so efficient. You can get the Nashor's, but, doing this type of thing is going to encourage people to start going, like, I don't even know, like, Ginsu's Teemo and Blather and King Teemo, and it's all of this stuff that I think is really baiting a lot of people, so I don't know. I don't like it. If they want to buff Teemo, I would start by buffing the vision radius on the shrooms. That doesn't give him any extra damage. It doesn't, like, help him dominate the laning phase, but it would help him control the area more and just give him more unique utility in the game. Because he is the scout, after all, so why not make him a scout? That might even make him viable as a support, maybe. Probably not all the way, but if he had, like, at least half of the vision range of a full-on ward on those shrooms, that would help out a lot. I don't think he gets half. If he got full vision, that would be really sweet, but... Anyways, okay, Viego, attack range down to 200. That's actually pretty significant. Range matters a lot on champions, so that's going to be tough. That basically effectively gives his opponents an extra 25 range to harass him, you know, more safely in the laning phase. And then we've got Blather and King. Okay, the damage multiplier from crit chance is higher. Okay, so they want him to build crit as well. I like that they're trying to nudge people more towards these glass cannon builds and away from the more OP builds, which are basically you do a lot of damage and you're also unkillable, you know, with like the Divine Sunders, Sterix, you know, all of that garbage. But why don't you just nerf those items instead of like pushing Lucian towards crit, pushing, Viego towards crit? How about you just nerf the problematic items in the first place? But anyways, Harrowed Path, Camouflage Detection Radius. Okay, so people can see him faster. Okay, sure. And then the slow duration off of R only lasts for a quarter of a second. I didn't even realize that R slowed. Why does it need to slow? I was really hoping they would nerf the heal. They didn't nerf the heal. That's what I was hoping they would do. Okay, I guess all this is fine. I still think he's going to be extremely strong. Just because of the heal, the resets, and just his damage scaling is still going to be really good. Okay, Zaya. This Feather Store damage is massive. 75 damage on an ability that has baseline 125 is really strong. Because don't forget, like, this does not include the Feather pullback damage on E. Right? If you pull, I don't know what the number is, but if you pull back and you hit him with all of those feathers, it's probably going to be at least another 200 damage, if not more. So, like, comboing this together on someone who's CC'd or someone who doesn't flash out or whatever is probably going to be, 350, 400 damage. It's a lot of damage. So, and don't forget those feathers can crit, too. But Zaya has kind of been a victim of just, like, bad itemization for most of the season, right? Ever since they nerfed Essence Reaver, she just doesn't work as well with some of the other stuff out there. But they've given her several buffs. They lowered the cooldown on her R. Now they're increasing the damage on the R. Her Q cast time is down. That's such a weird buff. Why? Like, who cares? I mean, I guess that does let you root people faster if you Q in and then auto attack once, and then you can immediately root them with E. That is nice. But it's like, okay, is point like 0.5 faster? I don't know. It just seems really bizarre to make that a scaling thing. But anyways, hey, as someone who plays a lot of Rakan, I think that's great. I don't necessarily think she needs a lot of buffs. I think she's just underplayed, but she's really good in like professional play or like challenger play. And Rakan, I think, has been the highest win rate support on the last patch in pro that has any sort of representation. Let me see. So I don't even though I like it as someone who enjoys playing Rakan and is usually successful on Rakan. I say usually because this season it's been a little hit or miss. But I feel like I do really well on him, but statistics say otherwise at times. But we've definitely been, finding our groove again. We've been doing very well over the last couple of weeks. Okay, well, not on 11-16. He's not doing well right there. It's such a low sample size. Here's what I was thinking of. Okay, so on the last patch, he was, one of the top 5 most played with the highest win rate by a pretty substantial margin, right? Like, Thresh has 56, so he's pretty close, but like 60% is legit. Then if we look at, I don't know how Zaya was doing. And that's like when you don't even have Zaya in the meta, right? So if you just think like, okay, well, what happens if Zaya becomes a lot more popular and stronger, then Rakan's going to be stronger because they, feed on each other. So she also had a 60% win rate. Now, she wasn't played as much, but that's what I'm saying is I think she just wasn't like played as much by most people. So I think balance wise, it's dangerous to give her a buff this big. I don't think she needed that. Personal greedy wise, sure, bring it on. Make Zaya stronger. I'll take more Zayas in my games, but realistically, that's pretty dangerous. I think she's going to be a top end pick for sure, like for sure. And she's already like good in this type of meta where you have a bunch of melee champs trying to dive and run at people. She punishes that really hard with her ultimate. She can just like completely delete everybody, with her Featherstorm. So, anyways, very strong champ right now. Okay, Zed. Bigger Q radius. Okay, so that's good for poke. That's good for like wave clear. And then his E slash is going down. So he's gaining 10% on the Q. The E's going down by 5. And then the mark timing is going up at later levels. Okay, so his all in, if you hit... Well, I think that's actually more damage. If you hit a triple shuriken on his all in with his R... that's more damage because now you're getting 30% and you're only losing because you only do the E can only hit once. So you're losing like 15 here, but you'd be gaining 30. No, it's reduced, for each additional shuriken, I believe. Maybe. I'm not a Zed expert. I'm not even sure if what this is supposed to be. Because I think the shuriken's more valuable just because you can hit multiple in all ends and it's ranged. It's poke. I think it's probably better wave clear. You max it first. I'm not really sure what they're going with there because it seems about the same or maybe stronger than he is. Divine Sunder knocking off 5. I was kind of afraid they would do that. Just hit the freaking healing on it. That's the problem, not the fact that it has AD. I guess they are, they're trying to just say, all right, we'll keep it as healing as a utility item, but we're trying to, make you pay a bigger trade-off. I guess that's okay. It'll still be a strong item, I think. Particularly on champs that are, more of like sustain damage champs that aren't really looking to burst as much, that don't have like really high AD ratios. Like this, maybe this matters more on like Viego, but Ezreal does have like pretty good AD ratios, but he's perfectly fine just poking and having extended fights. So I don't think it's going to matter too much on Ezreal. Probably it's not going to matter too much on Irelia. So, I don't know. It's okay. I'd rather see them, like, cut the healing. Okay. Hullbreaker, extra 100 health. This is just really not played on a lot of champs. I mean, there are some, like Yorick. I've seen it in some other matchups, but I still think it's not going to be that great of an item in most situations. Serpents Fang, they're nerfing that. I don't think that's necessary. I feel like that item is usually a bait item. Like, I understand a lot of people are taking Sterix right now. I understand that Locket is a really popular item, on tank. So, there are definitely a lot of shields. But every time I look at this item in games, it just doesn't even crack, like, 2,000. But the thing is, I guess it's, like, super cost efficient anyways. Or it was close to, like, 100%. Maybe even a little bit more than 100%. And just the shield breaking was just, a little bonus. But knocking out the lethality feels pretty rough. There aren't that many champs that get this item, are there? There's some. I know like Blue Kane gets it. I think it's mostly just a bait item to begin with. So, I don't know. I guess that's fine. I don't think it's going to matter too much. Wits End. Okay, so 15 damage early. And then it doesn't start scaling until level 9. This is a bad change. Okay, so this is going to hurt people who go first item Wits End, but a lot of Wits End users get it second, at least in my experience. Like, a typical combination would be you would get something like Shield Bow into Wits End a lot of times. So that's what, like, Ashe does when she gets this, I believe. It's what Kog'Maw does when he gets it. If Master Yi gets it, he doesn't get it first. He'll go like maybe Duskblade, Wits End. So I think a lot of champions get it second. I don't think there are very many that would rush it as a literal first item. I mean, maybe if you're against like a heavy AP champ, it's like Irelia into Rumble or something top lane. But so in other words, it's not going to matter. Like this doesn't matter unless it is a first item rush. I don't know who this is. Like who's rushing this? I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm not thinking of certain things, but I feel like it's usually second item. So if you get it second, that's usually by level 9 or later. You complete your second item, or pretty close to 9, depending on how fed you get. I just don't think that's going to matter. Like what they need to do is just take the movement speed off of it. Why does it have movement speed? Like, it's already good enough that it has magic resist, AD, attack speed, and really good on-hit damage. They could also just nerf the AD by, like, 5 or 10 or something, but I don't know. Just the movement speed just seems, like, very random. I know it builds out of an item that has, like, the movement speed on it, but I don't know. It just seems like that's just one little benefit that's just too much. That doesn't really seem to fit the identity of the item. Like, the item's not for kiting or running people down. It should be I think they need to go back and consider with these items, like, what is the purpose? Why would somebody buy this? And the answer needs to be, like, for a reason. Because right now, you would think, okay, I want a defensive item for attack speed champions that helps if the enemy has a lot of burst magic damage, right? So I want a Hex Drinker for attack speed champs. Like, that would be, if I was a designer, that's what I would be thinking about with Wits End. It's like, okay, why do I need movement speed then? Right? Or if you want it to say, like, okay, it's an on-hit item. It's supposed to be attack speed and on-hit. Like, the old design, I think, was much better. It said, okay, this is going to be a heavy attack speed item that has a lot of on-hit, that's an alternative for champions that don't want to build crit, that don't want to get the Hurricane and the Phantom Dancer and stuff like that. So it's an alternative item that has that magic resist component to it. So it's the defensive, magic resist, heavy attack speed, on-hit item for, like, you know, Cogmaws, Veins, stuff like that. And that's where it was. And then it was like, okay, if you wanted the AD version of that, or the version that was, like, a little bit more compatible with crit champions, you'd probably just go for, like, Hex Drinker. So they had, like, different purposes. But right now, like, nobody gets Hex Drinker or Maw Malmortius hardly, because Wits End's just OP. So, as with a lot of items that are problematic, it just does too many things and doesn't have a clear identity. Okay, Youmuu's. Minus 100 gold. It now builds out of Caulfield's, has ability haste, and attack damage is lowered. I think that's a good deal overall. It's a little bit less damage, but this would make it more appealing for assassins, I think, because a little bit of ability haste is nice, because usually they need their ultimate to seal the deal, unless they're mega fed. We're thinking of, like, Talon, Zed, those types of champs. Kane. Okay, I think that's fine. I mean, they're really trying to, like, create another option other than the shield breaking item. Okay, runes, fleet footwork. So, that's a pretty good chunk more healing. For melee. Right? No, they're nerfing the hell out of it for melee. Okay. Oh, versus minions. Okay, so they do not want you. So it has a higher baseline heal, a significantly higher baseline heal. Going from 3 to 10 early is a big deal, with better AD scaling, but you don't get hardly any bonus from melee attacking. So this is gonna make things like Kassadin a lot weaker with this rune, or just other champs that are just wanting to kind of just get some free sustain in the laning phase. So I think that's good. Make them pay a price if they want to sustain. But this is going to make it better on champions like Caitlyn. I think she's one of the only people that would get this. Maybe Jhin. I don't know. There are some champs that like Fleet, but okay. That does not say monsters. So if something has a hard time clearing that maybe wants this in the jungle, not really sure. But that would help out with that a little bit too. Okay, well, I think that's it. You know, kind of the most interesting changes to me on this patch that could be sort of meta-defining would be the Zaya, for sure. Like, that's huge. Now, in solo queue, I don't know if it's going to catch on at, like, you know, Platinum and lower, just because she is really hard to play, but definitely in, like, Pro, I think she's going to be super strong. Viego's still going to be good. Nami I mean, maybe a percentage or two. If she goes up, it'll probably be if Lucian's going off, if Lucian's really strong, because she's classically very good with him. So I think this will be really good on Lucian if people realize just how great this is with Font of Life. And if they pair her with like a Nami with Mandate, I think that could be pretty good. The big question for me is just like, how viable is the crit build going to be? Can you really go for, something like Shield Bow or Kraken into Lord Doms, into Infinity Edge, or are you going to be too squishy doing that? The Shield Bow would certainly help out quite a bit. An alternative build, I guess, would be... Oh, you could do like... Yeah, I mentioned Essence Reaver, I think. Both Zaya and Lucian could maybe get Essence Reaver. But... Are you just going to be too squishy with that? So, I don't know. We'll see. Muramana is also interesting on him. It does a lot of on-hit damage. He does trigger that. But it's like, I think it would be too cute if you're going for a crit build. So I don't know. I mean, it is very powerful. It is efficient. But it's like, do you... I mean, maybe another build would be like Shield Bow into Muramana into Lord Doms. And just say whatever to Infinity Edge. I don't care. Because, like, Lord Doms, even though that has crit, would actually work really well with... Lord Doms would work really well with the triggering off of Manamune. Now, as Manamune, that triggers off of... Is that once per spell cast? There's no way the ultimate triggers... Like, each bullet would trigger that, right? I think maybe at one point it did. I can't remember. But I do not believe that each bolt can trigger the Muramana proc damage, right? Basic attacks on hit against champions deal 1.5% blah, blah, blah. Dealing ability damage to champions with abilities can only be triggered on the same target once every 6.5 seconds. From the same attack or cast. Okay, yeah, so no, you cannot machine gun and kill everybody. That would be way too strong. However, I mean, if you're just trying to finish someone off from a distance, like that does have some synergy. And that's on the same target, right? So if you're hitting a bunch of people in a team fight, I believe... on the same target once every 6.5 seconds from the same attack or cast. That's worded really weirdly. So you can trigger it multiple times if you hit them with multiple abilities, right? So if you like Q them, I get Q them, W them, E them, and then like each auto attack triggers it as well. So your double attacks trigger it, and then maybe in a team fight, if you're just like, strafing and just like hitting everybody with those bullets, it might trigger like once on each person at least. So I could definitely see some synergy there. If it's like a Shield Bow into Muramana into Lord Doms, and then the Lord Doms, the penetration, this counts as physical damage, so it would increase the damage on this. So maybe that's better than the Infinity Edge build, and that would give you a little more versatility. And a cheaper item, right? 2,900 instead of 3,400 for Infinity Edge, and a much nicer build path too. You can get that tier early, and it can help you, wave clear in the laning phase and all that good stuff. But anyways, that's gonna be it. Thank you very much. Be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the content. Come by, check out the stream. It's on Twitch, like I said, starting around 11:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Follow me at the Strategy Professor, at the Strat Prof, the Strategy Professor on Twitter if you want some more announcements whenever I post up new content. And stay tuned for the support tier list. Should be coming out over. I might be able to do it later today, but it might also be tomorrow. We'll see how much time I have left. But anyways, have a good day. Thanks, and I'll see you next time.